No, not I will survive. As long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give. Oh, I will survive. Franci Davila testify. Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, friends, foes, family. This is a live CANversation. My name is Seth Womble, brought to you by the Spirit of CAN, live from the island of Kauai. Today's special guest is Franci Davila, aka Fancy Franci. She is a fighter for the change of our human mentality and making sure that we're getting on track, taking care of our mental health so that we can take care of those that are around us. And we're honored to have her today. She's going to be checking here just in a little bit. For you guys that are just tuning in for the first time, I'd like to encourage you to pay attention, because at the end of this feed at some point, we're going to give away some CAN gear. I've got Fancy Franci here. I'm going to bring her in right now. But just pay attention, because we're going to ask you guys a question. The first person in the comment section to answer, we'll send you guys some CAN gear so that you can keep that message alive. And that's what this broadcast is about, is the concept behind CAN. If you'd like to do a little more digging, check out Science of CAN or spiritofcan.com. And hang on, you guys. This is going to be a bit of fun. We've got Fancy Franci coming in here. My name is Seth Womble, and proud to sit here and have a great discussion with an incredible woman here right now.
Hey, 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 how's it?
Hey, I'm good. Let me turn my volume up really quick.
All right.
Bingo.
I'm going to put a little distance here so that you don't see too many of my blemishes. It's all good. I still love myself.
Blemishes are real, and girl, you were born with it, and it looks good.
Mahalo nui. How are you, Seth?
I'm great. Thank you. I've had a solid morning, got a little bit of exercise on the bags in the garage, and I'm feeling good.
Oh, right on. Awesome.
That's basically thanks to some inspiration from you and a couple of these others that have been getting on these CANversations. So really quick, I want to encourage people that are checking in right now, if you get inspired in any way by this, don't just share it. Pick somebody specific that you know that might be like, wow, this was cool, and then share it. That'd be cool. Make it direct. So this is Fancy Franci, Franci Davila, coming at you live. Tell us something about yourself.
Ooh, something about myself. Well, we've already had this CANversation before, and not that this one will be totally different, and I'm excited for it. I actually almost wonder, will I be one of those like guest speakers that like pops up every like 2 months or something like that? I would be.
Why not?
Seth, by the way. A little something about myself. Well, all right. I want to kick into gear of like what occupation I am and kind of like, you know, go that kind of default, but a little something about myself. I am learning more about myself. I am a part of the Taino Nation. It is in the Caribbean. It's among the Caribbean islands colonized by the Spaniards back in the 15th century. And I'm just learning a little bit more about my history in that type of way. It's interesting because like it's a lot of growing up. There's a lot of Christian faith-based context and belief systems that I was taught and kind of raised within my household. And when I got a little older, knowing more about the history that I come from the island of Puerto Rico, also known as La Isla de Poriquen, I started to understand that some of the things that I was taught didn't necessarily apply to my core. And so I'm learning a little bit more about my core these days, and I'm loving it every single way. So that's a little something about myself. I'm a Taino, I'm a descendant of the Taino tribe, and the island of Boriken, and I've been on Kauai for almost a decade. My 10-year anniversary is coming up next March, and I'm excited about it. Oh, we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something. What else? Oh, okay. The thoughts and feelings that I often feel and kind of learning more about myself allow me to connect to a lot of other people. Learning more about myself helps me so that I'm able to sort of put myself in other people's shoes and have a better understanding as to what it is that they're going through and experiencing or thinking. And then kind of what can I do in order to help them if they have any type of situations going on, or they're in tough relationships, or they're just trying to understand with everything going on in the world, how it is that they can kind of like figure out how they can contribute. So I'm a helper, I'm a lover, I'm also a fighter, as you know. But the fighter comes in the warrior essence of what I am. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Is that good enough, Seth?
That's great. And I love that you didn't have to stick to some formatted script that we tend to think that we have to go through when somebody says, how long you been here? Where are you from? What's the deal? You know, we do have a go-to a lot of times, and that's so thank you for being authentic. And you highlighted a couple of really interesting things there. So what you were telling me is basically if you get in touch with yourself a little bit better, you can connect better with other people.
Automatic.
Whoa. That's what we're talking about here right now. So I think this is a great time to go ahead and say thank you. That was a perfect introduction.
Right on.
You're an awesome chick, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that here in the next 45 minutes, an hour. So thank you for joining us again today. So if you guys are just tuning in, we did have Franci on a few weeks back, a month back or so like that, right when the some protests and things were really starting to take off, and we had plenty to talk about then. Not that we have anything less to talk about now, because things change from day to day, especially right now.
Yeah.
So what we are going to just go ahead and stick to the sort of loose format that we generally have with this and find out what are some things that have changed for you. And, that might be completely different than what you addressed before, especially now that you're digging a little bit more into your core values and where you came from and what you understand to be true deep within yourself, so that you can then understand others better. That's profound. And I would love to dig into that a little bit. So let's find out maybe first, what's something difficult, anything that you'd like to talk about that you've gone into that you're making adjustments for currently, and we'll talk about how you're adjusting.
Okay. Well, since the last time that we talked, I think last time it was really interesting because it was like right at like the crux of, I want to say it was less than a week that had passed since George Floyd had been murdered. And so there was a lot of personal, emotional, and mental gears that were connecting and really trying to understand like what's going on in the world. How do I feel when I consume media, and how it kind of disturbs me inside or ignites me inside. And how do I, with such a sensitive topic that a lot of people have a range of emotions, thought processes, and experiences with, how do I convey something that doesn't come off harsh, aggressive, but really motivational as to how people can get involved with anti-racist work and the Black Lives Matter movement. So that was really a huge, I feel like, component to our last conversation. And this conversation is kind of a month later. So there's, it's almost like that the major wave has kind of like come and like is almost still like waving, like, give me the terminology for it. It's like, that's a
good analogy, almost like a tsunami.
It's kind of like it's getting closer to the shoreline. And so in certain ways, there's a part of it that seems like it's losing, or not losing power, but like the energy of the wave is transitioning into a different kind of energy. There's still an undercurrent though, you know, there's still waves that are coming from behind. And so I think a huge difference this time around is having more one-on-one conversations with people, showing up at different events, and then also knowing when not to show up because I have to care for myself. A big one that just happened recently, I mean, this is a special occasion for me to hop on and hang out while we do this CANversation with each other, Seth. But after this, I'm taking a break from Instagram. There was a part of it where for the last month, I was doing a lot of consuming of media, but then also interacting with other people and really wanting people to understand, I guess, my position and my passion and motivation, and then also different types of interesting sound bites that I could kind of take and throw onto my storyline or something like that. And so I've been on Instagram a lot. I've also, I don't know, I've been doing a lot of stuff to kind of distract myself from personal growth. And so there was a moment, maybe like a week and a half ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, where I thought I actually set intentions for myself. I have a group of folks that it's a small intimate group of us, but we get together and we support each other in such a beautiful way. And one of the things that we do with each other is we set intentions on a monthly basis in what it is that we want to do for that month coming up, and the things that we want to accomplish. It can be something very tangible, like I want to start an herbal garden, or I want to finish a book. But it also can be something spiritual, where it's kind of like I want to learn more about my understanding of the ethereal world, or mysticism. Different things that we can do. So one of the things that was on my intention list was that I want to, I need to study for an exam that I have in order for me to kind of legitimize myself in the mental health field that I work in. There's a process of licensing procedures that I have to go through. Now, I am licensed as a social worker, but I want to become licensed as a clinical social worker. And so in order to do that, I need to complete 3,000 clinical supervised hours. And then I also have to take an exam. Now, I can do these kinds of conversations all day long. If you put me on a stage and you give me a microphone,
I'm taking notes real quick.
Yeah, all right.
Carry on.
I can take that and I can feel comfortable in being an orator and being somebody who shares talk story, which is probably one of the reasons why I love Hawaii and the culture of talk story over here, because I'm all about talk story. I feel like that's how I'm able to grow in learning about other people, but then also I'm able to help other people grow also. It's a really connective, interactive, kinesthetic thing. And so that is my comfort zone. I have to take an exam though.
There's some really great things here that you're talking about. There's all the elements of exactly what is healthy and is good is being displayed here in beautiful words. You're doing a great job.
Awesome. Thank you. So I got to take an exam and I'm petrified. I have to, it's an investment for me. I have to fly to Oahu. I have to kind of break this little like cocoon nook that we're in here in Kauai, and like venture out in order to take this exam. I also have to pay, I think it's about $300 just to take the exam. So it's not like I can take it and like if I fail, like, well, all right, I'll just take it next week kind of thing. It's like, no, this is something that I really have to invest in. Yeah. And so my intention was to sit for this exam. But in order to sit for this exam, there's a few steps that come before actually bringing my butt to Oahu, taking off all of my jewelry, you know, signing a couple of papers and being in a very stoic, clean environment and sitting in front of a computer for 4 hours, feeling like the computer is judging me for all of my insecurities and in so many ways. So I had to, with my intention being that I need to schedule a date for this exam, and then I need to take this exam. It means that I need to sit my butt down and start to study for the exam. In order to study and feel confident to schedule the exam, I have to eliminate my distractions. So eliminate the barriers. What's step one? I got to find the barriers that I have and eliminate them. And so I understand now that one of the things that has been really distracting for me, but not in a bad way, was that I would go to work, I would come home, I would either hop onto Instagram or I'd turn on the TV, or in order to turn my brain off, in order to like have it cool down from a really heavy day of work, I'll play Soda Crush. It's done. It's just one of them. So I was on the screen. All of my distractors and all of the choices that I was giving myself in order to kind of decompress for the day was having me connect and be connected to a screen. And when I was reviewing, like, all right, what are my intentions? How is it that I can accomplish some of these things? I realized that one of the things I had to do was eliminate my distractors. And so with the exception of today in our CANversation, I'm probably going to take some time off of Instagram.
I
let
totally
people know.
encourage that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, I've let people know, you know, it's like I posted something on my storyline. I posted something on my wall. I, you know, sent a few like DMs to people, letting them know like, hey, just to let you know, I'm not going to be on here. That way people don't take it personal. Just don't take it personal when I don't really interact with them. And also I wanted people to know, like,
I'm here.
Productive stuff over
And
here.
you're here. It's not that you're unavailable. Just, you know, let's make it personal instead of just liking my things or whatever else. You know me, get in touch. I'm here.
Yeah. So that's
I totally encourage breaks. I mean, you can always come back to it if that's something you really need. And there's so many people that I know personally that use the screen as an excuse to shut down. And you're really not actually shutting down. You're engaging in a different kind of way that's not good or productive. There's a good to it. So there's something to be talked about with like good internet use, and we might talk about that later, because I think that, you know, there is that to be discussed too. But the majority of it, we suck it up. Whatever it is, whatever's in front of you. You look at kids, we call them sponges. We grow up, we're adult sponges. We still absorb what's in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, that makes me think also, like, there's a part of this where our kids kind of, I mean, they learn from us. You know, these are learned behaviors that they have. And so it's kind of like if they are in front of a screen and there's parents that are upset that they're in front of a screen, I would say it's less of the child's kuliana of like what's going on, and more of like, well, look at yourself. What are the behaviors that you're actually showing and are unaware of? Because, you know, to say like, well, actually it's the parents' issue. It's like, if they're unaware of it, then it's not necessarily anybody's fault. It's just us understanding like, hey, we're teaching our kids to kind of rely on these sources in a different type of way. With that, I think that they're also teaching us a lot of things.
100%.
Yeah, but I do believe that good positive internet use is an important piece of all of this. I avoid, when I am on the internet, going and doing like pop culture consumption. I don't really care what's going on with celebrities unless they have good messages. And then I'm taking their messages and I'm sending it to somebody else who might connect with that celebrity so that they can see, they have something worthwhile to listen to, and kind of grow from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm with you. I really, all you big influencers out there, use your numbers to do good.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Man, you've said so many great things, because these are all, okay, so tying this into the concept of the spirit of CAN basically is easy, because you're talking first about looking after yourself, looking deep within yourself. At the beginning of this conversation, you said you picked up a book and said, I'm looking into my roots, my culture, where I come from, so that I can better understand others. What's the title? It's backwards there.
It's called the Taínos.
Okay.
Rise and Decline of the People Who Greeted Columbus.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what's really great about that is just what you said. It simply is, if you can understand yourself a little bit better and be patient with yourself and feel good within yourself, whether that's health or mental or hopefully the combination of those things, you can then definitely listen better. And something that interesting happens when there's a protest, or even not, if there's a discussion at a table and it's something that's uncomfortable, a really good indicator that you're onto something that needs to be discussed is if it quickly elevates, or there's strong feelings behind it. That's good. That's not something to be afraid of, but it's difficult. So you got to find those ways to be peaceful warrior and sit and listen. And that's actually, that is not a fuel for anybody's fire. You could get the most angry person in the world and you just sit there and you listen. They can't get more angry. So there's that. Some other things that you said. Did you have something to say then?
No, but I really like the concept of peaceful warrior. Like, there's a part of me where in so many ways, I definitely generate warrior vibrations. And I am a fighter, so I'm a boxer, but I'm also learning new physical ways to be a warrior. I just started jujitsu, and that's been a fun thing. But even with like, not even regarding the physicality piece of a warrior, there's a warrior spirit. And it's interesting because to be a peaceful warrior, I think I think a lot of warriors actually, this is going to sound upside down and like oxymoronic, but I think a lot of warriors actually want peace. It's like we're trying to fight and advocate for peace amongst our people and amongst different tribes, versus dominance. There's a concept that the poet in me kind of it's been percolating, where what's the difference between a warrior and a soldier? And in that, I don't know, I'm still coming up with some things, but I feel like the peaceful warrior is a cool concept that you just used, and I think I might take that and put it in one of my poems over here.
It's a good time for me to say that is not an original phrase. There's actually even a book, I think, by a fella named Dan Millman. I could be wrong on that, but called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And it's good, worth the read. I also want to highlight that none of these concepts, including the concept that we believe in that we're talking about here as far as the spirit can, is original. This stuff's been around since the beginning of man, and man's folly specifically. As soon as we learned to start manipulating each other and whatever it was to get what we needed, that's where things started to really shift for humans, I think. So that goes for, so I'm saying that specifically because I want to let everybody in the audience know that when we get these guests, these special people to come and talk with us, we specifically say that we're going to avoid talking about politics and religion. And that is because it's in everything. But that's not because we're avoiding those things. It's because there are deeper core values that pervade those things that are not original. They come from wherever or whatever it is that you believe in. These core values, the thing that you highlighted at the very beginning of this, something didn't sit right with you, with your entire upbringing, and you specifically said in your religion. And that can be, that's very significant. So when you get to face those things that don't feel right to you, it's good to question them. I read an interesting phrase. It was in Latin the other day. so I can't repeat that part. But the gist of it was that the only fish that go with the flow are dead. But it was cooler in Latin, but I'll work on that.
No, I mean, like when we consider what kind of flow systemically goes on and those who go with the flow, it's an interesting concept to consider. I like that one though. I do.
And I'm a Pisces as well, so that really resonates.
That makes sense. Makes sense. I will say I'm an Aquarius.
There you go.
I'm a lot in my head over here. But one of the things I wanted to kind of build off of with you is that, yeah, a lot of anything and everything isn't original. However, we are in who we are as people, but we have to learn what has come before us. We talk about, so in the spirit of CAN, we have the Maslows Hierarchy that is really the basis where Andy took the Maslow's hierarchy and he inserted in each of these categories components that really are relatable to people. And I mean, I'm curious to know, it's like, how many people out there really understand and know what the Maslow's hierarchy is? I think
that's why we're here.
You're right. It's why we're here. And we want to continue to teach people of what these fundamental teachings are, where things originated from, and how it is that we have been able to authenticate it for ourselves and then for the collective. But it is important for us to go back to the roots and understand what the origination is for a majority of what it is that we're talking about, if not everything that we're talking about. It's a lot of like, it's how I'm able to often, in understanding historical context, be able to talk with people now in a respectful way. But when they give me facts, data, you know, in a very diplomatic, structured way, for me to say, yes, but what's the history context behind all of this? You know, and having them understand that sometimes history can trump factual data.
It rewrites itself daily.
Because history repeats itself. So it's kind of like when we have the statistics that we have out there that prove certain points, I almost wonder, it's kind of like, yeah, well, history repeating itself. So what is the objective to that data that you have, and how is it perpetuating something, a part of the system that wants to continue? I don't know.
I feel like it just gives somebody something comfortable to kind of hide behind, you know, like
Ooh.
It gives them a definite, like a period at the end of the thing, you know, statistics and things like that. You got to know that they can be used to sway any faction on the same topic. So that's where, you know, politics and religion and a lot of opinionated things develop. And that's the folly of man. And that's what we're stripping down by addressing Maslow's hierarchy and not saying that there's no can't. We're saying that CAN is making a plan. And you start by taking care of yourself at the bottom of that pyramid that you were just talking about. Your mental health, your wellness in general. You then can take care of other people around you, and you need to build a community. So that you were talking about this group that you get together and you talk about your intentions for the week or for the month. That is an incredible thing. So you're looking then at a community that then helps keep each other accountable. You can check in with each other. There's support there. You can listen to each other's ideas. You can actually get some good critical feedback instead of just getting the pat on the back and saying you're doing a great job, Franci. You know, there's going to be some people there to help you work through those things. Listen to each other. So that's that next tier up. And, you know, it just keeps going from there. So,
so I have something really quickly. All right. So since I do have a mental health background, I do know the original Maslow's hierarchy.
Okay, good.
And so I'm drawing it out really quickly because we're referring to it, but for audience that may still not know what it is, we want them to be able to have a general concept of this. Maslow's
So,
Hierarchy.
so she's working on a diagram, which is great. And we're not preaching anything here. We're not selling anything. These are not original concepts. This is core values, essentially, for every human on the planet, for every living thing, if you want. It is backwards, so we're gonna have to read through.
Oh, sugars! Dang it! All right, so we're gonna have to figure out like a mirror concept over here. Okay, so
You
this
can flip
right
the
here,
camera
although
around.
backwards, is wait. So what if I do this?
If you hit the camera button, so it flips the rotation, and then you just hold it to the regular camera.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's try this out here. Boom. Okay. Here we go. So we got Maslow's hierarchy right there. Now at the bottom of it, I just got distracted by Shiger Tark. You can send millions to Andy and Seth, and we will well receive it. Okay, so we got the Maslow's hierarchy. In how I understand this, and then Seth, what I'm going to ask you to do after that is kind of like how the spirit of CAN has taken what is in here and interject and then put in relatable forms for us. So the bottom is the physiological. So that's basically like roof over our head, food on the table, stuff like that we need in order to really get our basic needs done. So it's kind of like if we don't have our physiological needs met, then we're going to have a really hard time feeling safe. Yep. Okay. Now we tier up to safety. Safety is a huge one, and still very bottom heavy in like a primary need that we have. Mm-hmm. Safety then goes to love. When we understand that we are loved, there's so many amazing things that can happen within our own lives, personally, spiritually, economically, socially. Okay, love then, and I want to say this is probably the community piece that you're referring to, Seth. Then we go do esteem. So esteem is us really believing in ourselves right there. And if we don't believe in ourselves, if I didn't believe in myself, then I'd have a really hard time passing this exam that I need to study for. But I have to believe that I can pass it in order for it to happen. So we have esteem needs, and then this top tier right here, which typically we need all of these needs met to some extent in order for us to reach this top tier where we're talking about self-actualization needs. And that's really the concept of who am I?
What's my purpose?
Yeah, what's my purpose? What are my core values? Why do I find these things important? Why does something that was taught to me not fit the way that I want it to? Why is it that when I see something happy, I cry, versus when I'm sad, I cry? You know, different things like that. It's kind of like when our brain is able to start to consider self-actualization needs, it just means that on that on Maslow's hierarchy, that all of our fundamentals tiering up have really been able to be met. Yeah.
Thank you, Franci. That needed to be done. I need to have like a poster of that. Actually. I have spent a lot of these CANversations really, really kind of pushing on the very bottom rung of that ladder. So it's good. Can you put that back up again just for a second?
Oh, sure. Definitely.
So what happens a lot of times in life is another thing that we address a lot is our destination mindedness. And we've highlighted this in a few of these CANversations. And if you're destination minded, then it's not wrong for you to want to have self-actualization and want to know what your purpose in life is. But you can't start there. There's a lot of people that you might see or think that have achieved whatever it is that you think that they've achieved in big ways or whatever, all on their own. And there are some pretty unique cases out there. But when you take away any one rung of this ladder, that next one up is going to have significant challenges. I don't want to say it's impossible, because nothing really is. But what I wanted to get back to was that a lot of us, our first times of going around the thoughts of what are my purpose is usually kind of going through adolescence. You know, you're really wrestling with some stuff. I don't know anybody that was a teenager that just breezed through it unless, I don't know. Anyway, so I feel like that stuff starts to bubble up for you. But really, for you guys that are graduating, get out there in the world, or anybody that's young that's listening right now, wonder about those things. But then go back and make sure that you're checking in, make sure that you're staying healthy, and then make sure that you've got that safety. Like, and then that goes for the rest of society. If you guys know that there's ways that we can create a safer environment, especially for our youth, then let's work on that, because that's really important. It's a lot harder to get up that ladder and get that self-actualization and produce good people in our leaders and people that can really make great changes for humanity. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I can go so many places with this right here.
Let's go.
All right. So I feel like in this hierarchy right here, physiological needs. Okay. So I'm somebody who, we're talking about, you know, Black Lives Matter and systemically how there's racism. And in that sense, it's kind of like when we have people who constantly are trying to just have their physiological needs met and be safe. For example, a large part of our Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks out there, then love, esteem, and self-actualization are going to, like you said, be more challenging. If they're constantly focusing on establishing or maintaining these needs to be met, then for them to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to be a congressperson, a congress member, or I'm going to be state senate. I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be a judge. I'm going to be a philosopher in higher academia. It's
standing
kind
for
of
justice.
Right. Well, and like when we think of predominantly how many people, or how within our system, how it's predominantly white folks that are high ups in the judicial, dominate our political legislative platforms, own a majority of our businesses. It's because in the Maslow hierarchy, they don't have to focus daily on getting their physiological and safety needs met. They're already, they know that is a privilege. It's a known understanding for them that they just have. And so they're able to focus more on love, esteem, and self-actualization. Some of them get caught at the esteem piece where they're like, oh, damn, like I made it this far. I'm doing good, this, and that. But then to consider like morally, ethically, is what I am doing right now just, not just for myself, but for the collective. And I think that may be sometimes where folks can get stuck, is just feeling comfortable at a certain tier of the Maslow's hierarchy and then not striving for self-actualization. But it also, in that, it shows how when you have a marginalized group of people who are constantly working on the bottom tier of the physiological and safety needs, yeah, it's going to be hard for them to get up to the top tier. And that's why predominantly we have the racial statistics of who are the leaders in our judicial, legislative, and law enforcement. So all of that, it brings it together in a systemic way. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like going off on the academia.
No, you're great. And I'm picking out some things here that I kind of want to highlight. It's really interesting that for the majority of these conversations, it's really easy to initially stick on those first couple of tiers and really discuss that, because the majority of the planet is still held in those bottom couple tiers and really having to fight for those things and really don't get as much of an option to fight for those higher rungs on the pyramid there. So maybe we should take a moment to address the couple of people that might be out there that are on the higher end of that pyramid, because this hierarchy of needs is a lifelong venture. So the spirit of CAN is a lifelong venture. That means making a plan and working on these things. So if you're feeling like you're up on the top of that ladder, you probably would benefit and be able to feel more of that purpose, because there's hundreds of stories out there of people that get to the top. You know, there's even a song by King Louis, "I reached the top and I had to stop, and that's what's bothering me." So there's a thing that happens there. You have to go back and just continue to be that human being. Go back and address your physical health, your physiological needs. That doesn't mean, oh, I've got a mansion, I don't need to do anything. No, go outside, go for a walk, get in the ocean. Listen, and then work on your community. You know, don't burn bridges, and don't think that you're just such a right person that it doesn't, nothing else matters. Then just keep work it. So on a daily basis, this ladder can be worked on in almost like minute sort of micro doses. Everybody can work on this entire ladder on a daily basis.
Right.
You know, full realization of purpose can come in tiny doses and take you towards that greater purpose down the road.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you got to wake up and know what you're supposed to do with the rest of your life. Totally. There's a little bit of improv to life, you know, but you need a plan so that you can get to those steps. So I
feel like that brings like this, for the spirit of CAN, really, I feel like the essence of kind of like what I connect to in it is that, like, no matter what I can, but in order to know and understand, so we can believe things, but then to understand it and to know how to execute it is different from the belief of it. And so there's a part of it where, even if it's self-actualization, so like, I want to work on myself, I want to be a better person, I want to be able to work on empathy or know how to connect more with people. All right, well, how do you do that then? You know, and finding those steps in order to be able to get to a place that can be accomplishable. I think the hugest thing that really started to change and shift my understanding of the ability that I have within my own life, and then also for other people, is when I understood, it's a technical term, it's called task analysis. Task analysis is basically like, you want to get a task done, you want to complete something, break it down so that it's not a huge overwhelming concept to tackle, but really find the steps in order to build yourself up to actually accomplishing the overall task. So for example, like I tell people, like brushing your teeth, you tell a little kid to brush their teeth, unless it, like, they probably will have like seen somebody do it and like mimic people, but like there's a part of it where they might not know the actual steps and how the steps are programmed in order to do that. Cleaning a room is a big one. It's kind of like, or like cleaning our backyard or something.
Where do I start?
It can feel so overwhelming, and because it feels overwhelming and we don't know the starting point and the step that comes after the starting point and the step that comes after that, we actually become immobile. Like we get frozen and stuck, and we just like avoid the task altogether.
And then totally block it out.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And so it's kind of like, if we can break it down so that instead of it being, you know, a huge concept where we don't know where to start, but like breaking it down into 8 to 10 small little steps, all of a sudden it becomes more manageable, more doable. And then what is that working on? That's working on our esteem right there. Because, oh, I actually can do this. I know how to do this now, and I'm able to accomplish these things. And so we scaffold after that.
Nailed it. God, this is great. Wish we could do these longer, but you were right in the beginning. We're going to be seeing you more, and we're actually going to bring in some of the other original CANversation guests and ambassadors and bring them back again. Want to really quick open up the field. If there's anybody that's still listening that would like to ask either of us any questions, there's a question section there. Otherwise, now's also a good time for me to ask the listeners a question so we can give away some CAN gear really quick. So my question that I came up with, unless you've got a specific one that you like.
Shoot it out there, Seth.
All right. What's the exam that Miss Franci Davila is working really hard on right now, which is part of her hierarchy of needs? She's pushing herself. She's working hard towards it. She's setting goals. She's got a plan that seemed maybe unachievable at one point in her life, but worth chasing because it's challenging. She's nervous. So what's the exam that she's looking to take here really soon that comes with a whole lot of other things? She's going to have to travel a little bit and face all kinds of things that are a little bit uncomfortable. And that's good. That's healthy. If there's anybody out there that knows what exam Franci's getting ready to go take, let us know and we'll send you some CAN gear. Otherwise, we might have to make an easier question.
Yeah. I mean, an easy one for folks who know me or kind of like, you know somebody who does know me kind of thing is how do people know that I'm a warrior? What sport is it that is something that I have experience and titles in? That's always one also that people, it's a go-to.
It's fun. Let's give you a second to, do you want to highlight any of the other groups that you've been working with, or give any shout outs to anybody that just make sure we spread some love around as well?
Yes. So one of the, all right. So myself and my community, one of my best friends, me and my homegirl, Belgica Heredia, we started the Kauai Mental Health Advocates. It is our nonprofit that we've had some really awesome community events. We love collaborating where we promote destigmatizing concepts of mental health through really fun and engaging community events, including working with the art community and yourself, Seth. I mean, our last Healing Mental Health Art show just, it was good. It was good. The couple that you painted, they refer to like themselves as like, yeah, when we were the blue people. Okay, so we have Kauai Mental Health Advocates, KMHA. We are continuing to do our community conversations right now in order. My man Maine is on here. Aloha. He's one of my longest friends, 16 years that we've known. Oh, and then EOJ, they got an answer here. Wait, we got Sheeger Tark also. Right. It's become a clinical social worker.
You guys, those were that was a tiebreaker there. We're gonna let them both get away with that.
Yeah.
EOJ 19. As long as these aren't any fake accounts, you guys make sure you're being real out there.
Yep, Sheeger Tark and EOJ 19. Those two right there, they got them. Yes. All right, congratulations, you two. Good job. Staying engaged, I like it. But so for KMHA, we're continuing to do virtual community conversations. We just recently had one with the topic of substance use and brought on some folks we actually brought on a specialist from Children and Family Services. And then also we had a group of folks from the Keala Foundation, Aaron Hoff guys. They were able to hop on and kind of share their stories and just educate us on the realities of what and why substance use becomes a reality for people sometimes, but then also providing beautiful success stories of why and when they were able to say, this isn't it. This is not the life that I want to lead. It's not the path that I wanted to continue going down. And where they felt at one point like they can't, then all of a sudden they can. And it always takes community and environment in order to be able to do that. And so beautiful testimony from some folks from the Keala Foundation, and then some awesome resources from the Children and Family Service state programming that came on for those community conversations. We've also been collaborating with Kauai Resiliency Project. And so Kauai Planning and Actions Alliance partnered initially with Hawaii Community Foundation. And the two of them as powerhouses were able to create basically a collective or a coalition where they brought on private and public sectors, nonprofits, faith-based, secular, community members, the active members that are not only on island, but then also inter-island, and brought them all together with one priority, which is our keiki. And knowing that in order for us to be able to build the resiliency in our keiki, we have to understand core concepts as well. And that means that sometimes we have to, there's a lot of barriers. And how do we eliminate the barriers, not only for ourselves, but then also for our keiki, so that they can truly believe in themselves? Yeah. And so the Kauai Resiliency Project is doing some great work in order to connect with the different communities around the island of Kauai, but then also help support in suicide prevention work. That's a big thing that KMHA is also a part of, and promoting again the fact that mental health doesn't have to be a scary concept to talk about. It's a reality that all of us live with. And the more we normalize the fact that our mental health is just as important as our physical health, our emotional health is just as important as who's posting what on Instagram kind of thing, not just as, but more important than that, then it normalizes a way of thinking, feeling, interacting with each other, where we can love on ourselves and support one another. So a lot of good things going on in the community right now.
Heck yeah. I'm excited. Right after we get finished, I'll be talking with Trison and Nani Apala and a few others about resiliency mural dealing with, suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. And the concepts exploring how to paint a mural dealing with that has been engaging, to say the least.
Right on. I wonder where in suicide prevention work, I wonder where we are on the Maslows hierarchy.
That's a good question. Let's all do a little bit of thinking on that one.
This emoji.
I like this one too.
I love that emoji.
Well, you guys, thank you. We've got just a couple more minutes left, and I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I did say at the beginning of this, if you've been listening and this has inspired you in any way, please share it. But more than just sharing it, pick somebody specific that you know that this might mean something to them, and send it to them in a private message. Engage in those one-on-one conversations, CANversation, whatever you want to call it. But make that happen, because that's good. Let's just discuss some things and keep the world turning around, because we got this. You guys, if you want to get in touch with me, my name is Seth Womble. You can find me at my webpage, www.sethwomble.com. Please go check out the Spirit of CAN. Spirit of CANversation.
That's how we pronounce it back in Puerto Rico. We do like a low A on because we con.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm Franci Davila with the Kauai Mental Health Advocates. I'm also a private mental health counselor, building my practice, and one of my passions is to help support people in their personalized journeys in finding out who they are, identity development, emotional development. And then also, if you do have if you or anyone that you know has thoughts of suicide, it doesn't have to be as scary as it seems when we think and feel it. Come talk to me. And in that, I will put out, I have a work cell, 808-631-1154. And also you can email me at kawaii@gmail.com. I'm just here to continue helping and supporting the community who accepted me and my mother when we first came here over a decade ago.
Awesome. You guys, things are hard, and to have those feelings is not abnormal. And it's not easy to reach out when you need some help. But there's definitely people there for you. We're there for you. Franci is definitely there for you. For those of you that are doing well in the community and you're feeling like your hierarchy of needs are doing well, pay attention to those folks in your community that are having a harder time. Sometimes it's not easy to reach out for help, and it's a little bit easier for you to reach down and help pull them up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Seth, you the man. Thank you for always doing an awesome job in hosting these CANverssations and bringing some awesome people on here and spreading the message of CAN. It's making a difference.
It's given me a greater purpose. And to be honest, I don't know how I would have gotten through these last few months without this.
Right on. Yeah, that's it right there. Purpose is everything, and you definitely are living yours.
Thank you.
All right.
Everybody, fancy Franci on Instagram, but she's going to take a break there, a well-deserved one. And if you guys need to get in touch with her, she's giving you the details there. You guys can check back in. We're going to put this up on YouTube. You can listen to this while you're out taking a walk. You know, you don't have to sit in your living room. Get out there and make some progress on your life so you can help those around you. Love you. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, and thank you for everyone who tuned in. I've been watching, and you encourage us for continuing the work that we do. Love you too, Seth. And people can DM me. I just might respond in a month. All right.
Go well, Franci.
I gotta go study.
Yeah, get it, girl. We believe in you.
All right. Aloha.
Aloha.